Hey everyone, it's Nella here with another response to BJDAddicts. This one is for prompt 39, Faceup tips and tricks. Quick disclaimer before I say anything else. I've only done a handful of face-ups, and I'm by no means an expert or professional. Okay, now that that's out of the way. My first tip for anyone that's considering doing face-ups is to read a bunch of tutorials. I can't stress how helpful I found tutorials. They can tell you what sort of problems you might run into, how to overcome those problems, and that way you can also see how a bunch of different people do their faces. Because everyone kind of has a slightly different method. Number 2, this is highly important. Never use oil-based pastels on your dolls. Don't use stuff that has oil in it. Don't use stuff that has solvents. Is it solvents? Yeah, solvents. And also falls into this stuff that you don't want to use on your doll. Don't use a Sharpie. Please, I beg you, don't use a Sharpie. You may think, oh, that's really obvious, you shouldn't use a permanent marker. You'd be surprised at how not obvious that is. You'd be surprised how many dolls I've seen that happen to. I saw one on the marketplace, and some poor person was trying to restore this doll, and it's like you couldn't because the black from the marker just stained the resin all the way down, and it was horrible. It was just horrible. Yeah, so those are materials you don't want to use on your dolls. As for tips, if you have trouble keeping your eyebrows similar shapes, try making your own outline or stencil. You can use, I think you can probably just use straight normal paper. If you're using pastels, then just use paper. You draw the shape out on the paper, you cut out the eyebrow shape, you place it on the doll, you take your pastel and your pastel, which is probably on your brush, your pastel brush, and boom, eyebrows. For the hairs, you can use acrylic paint, which you do want to thin out. Or what I found is pretty easy, watercolor pencils. Most of my face-ups are mostly pastels, so so I found that's a really simple way to do the hairs and the finer details. If you're doing the eyebrows and you're using watercolor pencils, try one of the erasers for the watercolor pencils to kind of smooth away the roughness. So you can do it so the eyebrow is like thicker than you want it to be, and then you take the eraser for these type of pencils and then you just kind of run it along so you have the arch that you want. Yeah, one of my friends is more of an artist and has more artist supplies than I do, so that's one of the tools that she showed me. Another tool you might not immediately think of is a toothbrush. Now you want this toothbrush, you want the bristles, like you don't want it to be brand new. You want the bristles more worn down. But if you take care, they can be really good for getting paint out of those really hard to reach areas like the crack of the lips, in ears, that sort of stuff. Just, be careful that you aren't scratching your doll, because that can lead to some light scratches. The other cool thing you can use a toothbrush for is for doing freckles. I'm not sure if any of you guys might have done the splatter out when you were a kid and you took a toothbrush or a normal brush and you got a normal paintbrush and you put it in the paint and you just flicked it and like you flicked the bristles themselves and got this cool splatter. That's actually a way you can do freckles. You wet the toothbrush, you rub watercolor pencil on it, you dab off the excess water and pigment, and then you boop, splash the doll. I say splash, but there's not that much water in it at that point. Yes, this is a quick and easy way to do freckles. Okay, I think that about ends the face-up tips and tricks, and the reason why I'm doing this video now is because I'm getting ready to do her face-up. Yeah, so you know, this is connected to my current interests. Okay. Bye, everyone. Hey, I forgot to mention this in the video itself, and it only came back to me when I was editing this to post it on YouTube. But I actually have a few more suggestions for people. First off, and I've mentioned this in response to a different prompt about face-ups, my biggest tip for everyone is really take your time. This doesn't mean that you have to, like devote a whole day to doing face-ups, but means like if you're feeling like you're rushed, then you're more likely to botch the face-up. You're more likely to make a mistake, or do something that on deeper thought you realize, oh no, that isn't what I meant to do for this face-up. Yeah. Another one, if you have dolls of different resin colors, say a white doll and normal skin doll, and speaking from experience here, don't use the same color palette for the two of them. It's just it'll just look off. In my case, it ended up making my white skin doll look very clownish, because the pink on the normal skin doll looked very natural, but it was a very bright pink on paper white resin. So yeah, like keep resin color in mind when you're choosing what colors or particular shades or hues that you're using. Think how it's gonna look. Also, I mentioned the toothbrush, and you do have to be really careful with toothbrushes because they can scratch if you're not careful. But I mentioned that they're good for cleaning out crevices, and I mentioned the ears, and it kind of slipped my mind to mention why you should clean out the ears, so I'm going to say it now. When you seal the head, depending on the placement of the ears, some sealant is almost certainly going to fall into the ears, just because of how you're spraying. Some of it's going to get in there. But because you didn't put color there, you're probably not going to think to clean it out. You definitely want to clean it out, because if you don't, then you get, over multiple face-ups, you get a buildup of sealant in the ears, and then if that sealant starts yellowing, as it will with age, then it'll look like earwax. That's in the words of my friend who has done way more face-ups than me. That it ends up looking like earwax, because there ends up being a discoloration of the sealant, not the resin. Don't want to freak anyone out with that. So yeah, remember to clean the ears. I sound like a mother. Remember to clean your ears, darlings. Remember to clean the ears, take your time, and keep in mind what color your doll is, if you're going for colors. If you're trying to go for a natural look, maybe the natural color on your normal skin doll that is not going to look as natural on your white skin doll. Words of wisdom. Bye, everyone.